two mirrors, going one by one, are more transparent than each of them. Impossible, say you, I can respond, it can be explained using school-level physics. No quantum mechanics needed, it's a base of nanophotonics. This effect is needed for quantum cryptography. I am a professional physicist, I was working with this technology for years, and I will explain how does it work. Light is a wave. Let's pick one with a wavelength of 700 nanometers, a red one. And usually we use some shiny polished metal to reflect the light. That's the simplest mirror, but we don't need so much metal, we use some thin foil. It works good, but it's not flat anymore. So we need some carrier, as glass. Typically, mirror is a thin metal film which is somehow placed on glass carrier. Just to avoid this. Glass doesn't change anything. It's just a carrier, and in the future we will just not look at. It doesn't matter. We wanna save money and use thin film. It can be extremely thin. In my example, we'll take 20 nanometers of silver. And it's already enough to reflect 77% of light. And then 17 comes through. I guess that part is quite understandable and no surprise yet. And then let's place second, identical film right on the top of the previous one. Everything is easy. First transmits 17% and second one transmits 17% of the 17%, so only 3%. And 93 is reflected. But if we make a gap between them, the situation changes drastically. It can be 100% transparent. Wow! I didn't make those calculations up, you can double check it. Link to the open access thin film calculator is here below. And what's going on? How it's even possible? The answer is quite easy. School-level physics. Interference. As you'll know, light is a wave. And there is one important thing about the waves. If two waves meet each other, if they're in phase, they amplify each other. If they're in antiphase, they cancel each other. It's so-called constructive and destructive interference. And that's exactly what's going on in our case. If you look at the layout, we have two important interfaces which are reflecting light. Then what's going on? The light reflected from the first interface and from the second interface are in antiphase. Therefore, coming out the light from the second interface is interfering with the first reflection destructively. So they cancel each other. If we have two silver mirrors, 20 nanometers each and 280 nanometers of space in between them, this system reflects only 3% of the light, even though if they are right after another, they reflect 93%. 90% drop. And then, instead of 3% transmission, it gets 60% of transmission. 60 and 3 back. And I will explain tiny later where did we lose those 35% of the light. And we will get rid of this loss. This effect is based on the interference, therefore it's really sensitive to the wavelengths, either to the gap between the mirrors. If we change wavelength from 700 to 730, we are losing this effect, samely as we tiny change the gap. To understand the effect better, we can plot reflection amplitude versus wavelengths, which is corresponding to the color. Blue line shows how does it work if one mirror is right after another one. For the visible light, the reflection changes from 80% to 95 plus, but never 100. For the two mirrors with a gap in between, the spectral dependence is totally different. For the desired wavelength of 700 nanometer, it has a drop. This drop is almost to zero. By the way, if I make the second mirror only 4 nanometers thicker, the reflection drops to zero. And you can see how this dip in spectrum changes if I make this gap between mirrors 10 nanometers more or small. An interesting consequence from that all the wavelengths reflecting well are part of red one. And that's magnificent, because then varying distance between those two mirrors, we can tune the system which wavelengths will pass through and which will be reflected back. If we reflect white light and the red one did not reflect, so the light in general became more blue. And nature uses it. For example, butterflies. Butterflies have color, but not because of some dye, as beetroot for example. The wing has some nanostructure which simply does not reflect some wavelengths. It is some color. Those fine structure of the butterfly's wing makes the reflected light color because of interference. Same works for thin film of fuel on the water. And this effect is needed for quantum cryptography. This part will be at the end. Metallic mirrors are quite bad. They have one huge disadvantage: losses. When light is reflected from the metallic surface, it's usually losing at least 5% of the power. When the electromagnetic wave meets metal surface, electric field accelerates electrons, they move, and it takes some energy. So this energy is taken from the light. At work, I have had system of tens of mirrors, so total loss was quite high. Another good example is behavior of the photon in the cavity. Once it's in, it cannot leave it easily, because when it meets a mirror, it has the biggest probability to be reflected. So then it's redirected to the second mirror, where it has the highest probability to be reflected again and again. For leaving the cavity, it gets several of reflections. And in each act of reflection, it loses 5% of power. Can we somehow get rid of that? And here is an answer. You see the window, which is reflecting light. And meanwhile, it has no metal at all. And it has no loss. No metal, no gray. How? It's easy. If you have step in refractive index, it causes unavoidably to reflection. That's a window, which is of glass, and it reflects light with no metal at all. But as you know, they are transparent, so the reflection is not that powerful. But there is an easy solution. Samely, as I have shown you before, we can construct layer by layer structure, so that we form several waves, so the transmission is totally suppressed. It's so-called Bragg mirror, and this effect is needed for quantum cryptography. So if we take two perfect mirrors, so the Bragg mirrors which have periodic structure, they reflect not already 95% of the light, but 99.9 and something. The reflection quality is perfect, and moreover it's commercially available. There is no absorption. And still, if we have two of such perfect mirrors, one consequentially with another one with a gap in between, it's transparent again. A rough simulation shows that if we have two DBR mirrors right after another, the reflection is of 99%. Meanwhile, if we make a gap of 345 nanometers between of such two perfect mirrors, the reflection drops from 99% to 10, and then 90% of the light passes through. We turn perfect mirror to be transparent, adding an extra one. And since the materials are used in DBR are not absorbing, there is no absorption at all. Since there is no metal, there is no loss. I guess if I optimize the layout a bit better, I will get even 100% transmission. And the most interesting part is what's going on within this cavity. I have already shown you, if a photon comes in, it cannot leave it easily, because both mirrors from the left and right side of the cavity are highly reflective. This cavity is actually a resonator. Light is not only bumping between the mirrors, it forms a standing wave. Antinode of the standing wave in such cavity occurs to be in the exactly center. And if you place here some light emitter of this very wavelength, it will be in the resonance, and it amplifies electric field. This system will work like an antenna. That's so-called Purcell effect, and it's base of nanophotonics. What it is if you have a light source, some quantum well, quantum dot, TMDC, I have video about. You want this light source to be brighter, and you want this light source to emit in the direction you want. Similar to the other mirrors set around light source, if we place this cavity, it changes directionality. It means, if without light source emitted photons in all the directions, when we made such a structure, the light goes only in the direction we have chosen. And the most interesting, this mirror can be not even plane. This mirror can be cylindrical, and we can make an additional mirror from the bottom. So the light cannot go those directions, therefore it goes only upside, where it's collected by the lens and then redirected to the optical fiber. So we can use this quantum dot as single photon light source for telecommunication. Telecommunications, cause we use optical fiber. If you place such light source inside of the cavity exactly in the antinode of the electric field, you concentrate the electric field and the light source starts to be brighter. If without it gave you a photon in some, nanosecond, it can give you 2 photons nanosecond, 3 photons, 5 photons nanosecond depending on the condition of the cavity. It's a really helpful effect. If there are many photons, you don't really care. But if there is a single photon light source, it gives you not too much photons. And you need all of them. And that's actually what nanophotonics makes. You modify refractive index of the media on the sub-wavelength scale, so you can actually somehow manipulate the light. And this brings us to quantum cryptography. What's the idea? Usually in communication we use a lot of photons. We use thousands, we have millions of electrons, we have millions of photons. And if someone is stealing some of them, let's say a person, no one will know. And we can use this person to somehow collect the information. Probably we cannot decrypt it now, but we can do it later. Collect now, decrypt later. Meanwhile, if we somehow reduce flow of electrons or photons, we are speaking especially about photons. What happens then? We have quite a weak flow of photons, and if some of them are stolen, first of all we will note it. But if not, we will use in the communication only the photons which were emitted and then delivered. If the photon was not delivered, it's just out of business. Therefore it's forbidden on the physical level to listen to the system, so it's safe. Safe on the hardware level, not on the mathematical algorithm level. And for this we need such bright light sources. Bright single photon light sources, we need this Purcell effect. Purcell effect is based on those 2 mirrors which are getting transparent, meanwhile each of them can be 100% reflective. Phew! Mind-blowing, isn't it? I guess I deserved like. 2 mirrors are getting transparent because of interference, and it's basic effect in nanophotonics. If you know someone who can find this fact funny or interesting, please share this video. I need your like, comment, subscription, and see you in the next video.